You ever done something so stupid you wish you could go back in time just 5 minutes and punch yourself in the face? That's how I feel about the Bell Witch Cabin. I was never into paranormal stuff. Never watched ghost hunting shows. Never believed in spirits or demons or curses. But my girlfriend Sarah, she loved that stuff. Obsessed with it. And for her 29th birthday, she didn't want a fancy dinner or a vacation. She wanted to spend the night in the Bell Witch Cabin. If you don't know what that is, count yourself lucky. It's a replica of a farmhouse near Adams, Tennessee, built on the land where one of America's most terrifying hauntings supposedly happened, early 1800s, the Bell family. Tormented by something they called a witch, but it was more than that. It spoke, it scratched, it threatened to kill, and then it did. People said it was a poltergeist. Others said it was the devil himself. I thought it was a bunch of rural myth until the night I stepped through that door. It was cold when we arrived. October. Gray sky. The kind of air that smells like something's dying. Leaves, animals, or maybe time itself. The tour guide, a woman in her 60s named Carol, gave us a little walkthrough. Told the stories. Showed us the family tree. She was nice. Smiled a lot. But she never once stepped inside the cabin. When I asked why, she said, "I only go in during daylight. It remembers things after dark." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. We brought sleeping bags, flashlights, and snacks. No electricity in the cabin, no Wi-Fi. Just wood, stone, and darkness. The inside was colder than outside. Not just temperature, something else. Like the house had never warmed up, even after all these years. Dust floated in the air like it was underwater. Floorboards creaked even when no one moved. There were 3 rooms, a parlor, a bedroom with a rope bed, and a cellar hatch nailed shut. I wish we had left it nailed shut. 4:42 p.m. Sarah set up the camera. She wanted to record evidence. I rolled my eyes and joked about the ghosts needing to clock in. She didn't laugh. She stood near the fireplace, eyes wide. "Do you feel that?" she asked. I did. It was like the air had teeth. Around midnight, the cabin started changing. Not visually, physically. The walls creaked like something was crawling through them. The temperature dropped fast. I could see my breath inside the sleeping bag. Then the scratching started. Soft at first, coming from the walls, then louder, above us, in the ceiling, then beneath the floor. Sarah was already recording. "Ask it something," she whispered. I didn't want to, but I did. "Is someone here with us?" The scratching stopped. Silence. Then, 3 knocks on the wall, deliberate, like a reply. 3 am. We were still awake, too afraid to move. Sarah played back the audio from earlier. We listened through static, through our voices, through the silence. Then we heard something we didn't hear before. A voice. Low. Male. Angry. Right after I asked, "Is someone here with us?" the voice said, "Always." 41 m. I had to pee. The outhouse was outside, about 50 feet from the cabin. I didn't want to go, but I couldn't hold it anymore. I stepped out into the freezing dark. The night was wrong. No wind, no crickets, no sound. I made it halfway to the outhouse when I heard my name, Jake, spoken like someone was standing right behind me. I turned around. No one. But the cabin door was slowly swinging shut. I ran back, slammed it open. Sarah was still inside, eyes wide. "Why'd you call me?" I asked. "I didn't," she said. 10 a.m. Sarah started crying. She said her phone was gone, said it had been moved. I thought maybe she just misplaced it, but then we found it, sitting on the bed upstairs, still recording. We hadn't been upstairs. a.m. That's when it happened. The cellar hatch opened, not all the way, just enough to see the darkness inside. The nails that were sealing it earlier, on the floor. Something had come out. Sarah froze. I backed away. The air stank, like sulfur and rot, and we heard it. Breathing. Not ours. It came from the hatch. Deep, rattling breathing. Something wheezing like it had lungs full of dirt. Then, something crawled up the stairs. We didn't see it. We felt it. A pressure. Like the room was caving in around a shape we couldn't look at. I pointed the flashlight at the stairwell. The beam flickered and died. Sarah screamed, and I swear, in the faint moonlight through the window, I saw it. A hand. Not human. Too long. Bent wrong. Black, like it had been burned. Fingers dragging up the wooden steps, slow, deliberate. We ran, sprinted out the door barefoot. Sarah tripped on the porch. I yanked her up. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. I looked back one time. The cabin windows were glowing red. We didn't talk for the whole drive home. When we got back, we tried to forget, but we couldn't. Sarah started sleepwalking. Woke up at 3 a.m. every night, standing in front of the hallway mirror, smiling. She doesn't remember doing it, I do. Her eyes weren't right. The footage? We tried reviewing it. It was corrupted. Every file, except one, a 14-second clip. It shows Sarah sleeping. Then her eyes snap open. She sits up, looks directly into the lens, and says, "I brought it home." That was 6 months ago. Sarah's gone now. Vanished from our apartment one night while I was in the shower, door locked, windows shut. No signs of struggle, just 3 scratches on the floor beside the bed. And her phone, still recording, still playing back static. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I put it to my ear. And beneath the static, I still hear it breathing. They say some houses don't just get haunted, they become predators. My name's Casey Dunn. I'm a former crime scene cleaner. The kind of guy who goes in after everyone else has walked away. The guy who bleaches the blood off the walls, bags the leftover pieces, and tries to forget what he's seen. But there's one job I can't forget. One house I still see every time I close my eyes. It was a 2-story Victorian in a forgotten corner of Kentucky, tucked down a road locals called the Devil's Elbow. The place didn't show up on GPS anymore. You had to follow handwritten directions, turn left at a rusted mailbox, and drive half a mile down a gravel road choked with trees. The client was the county sheriff's department. What made this job different? They wouldn't enter the house themselves. It started with a welfare check. A woman named Claire Halderman hadn't shown up for work in days. Her co-workers said she was sweet, quiet, lived alone after her mother passed. When deputies arrived, they found her car out front, her dog dead on the porch. Looked like it had clawed its way out of the house. The front door was wide open, but none of the officers stepped inside. The report said one deputy, Sanchez, went in alone and came out 5 minutes later covered in scratches, eyes wide, whispering something they couldn't understand. He never went back to work, so they called us. I brought 2 crew members, Eli and Madison. We'd done meth house reconstructions, murder-suicide sites, even cleaned out a shed where a guy had been keeping bones that didn't belong to any animal we knew. We thought we'd seen everything. We were wrong. The first thing we noticed was the silence. The air felt thick, dead. Not the kind of quiet you get in the woods. This was pressurized, like the house was holding its breath. Inside, it smelled like wet copper and vinegar, blood and mold. The wallpaper was peeling, and strange black stains ran along the baseboards, pulsing like veins. We found signs of struggle, scratched floorboards, overturned chairs, but no Claire, no blood trail, no body. What we did find were mirrors, hundreds of them. Every room had at least one. Some were cracked, others covered in fingerprints. They weren't just hung up. They were installed, bolted to the walls, set into the ceiling. Even the backs of the doors. It felt like something in the house wanted to watch itself from every angle. Madison got uncomfortable first. She kept turning around, saying she felt someone behind her. Eli brushed it off, said it was just nerves, but she wasn't the only one. At one point, I looked into a hallway mirror and saw myself. Only, I wasn't moving. My reflection just stood there, staring back at me, breathing slow, smiling. I blinked, and it blinked half a second too late. We found a locked room upstairs. Door looked old, handmade. No knob, just a keyhole. Eli said, "We're not paid to open cursed crap. and Madison agreed. But something told me we had to see what was in there, so I broke it open. Inside was a nursery, but not modern. This room was old, maybe 100 years untouched. Cradle, rocking, chair, antique toys, a thick layer of dust covered everything, except one corner. A square patch on the floor had been scrubbed clean. That's when we heard it, a baby's cry. Faint, echoing through the walls. Madison screamed and bolted out of the room. Eli cursed and grabbed the flashlight. We checked the cradle. Nothing. Empty. Dusty. But the cry came again. This time it was right behind me. Eli was the first to vanish. 1 second he was in the hallway behind me. The next, gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just gone. We searched every room, called his name. No answer. Then we found the mirror. It was different than the others. It had handprints pressed against the inside, like someone was trapped behind the glass. Madison started crying, said she wanted to leave, said she felt something was trying to pull her reflection out of her body. We tried the front door. It was gone. Just wall, no knob, no frame, just peeling wallpaper where the door used to be. That night, we heard things in the walls, footsteps, whispers, laughter. In the bathroom mirror, I saw a version of myself I didn't recognize. Hair matted, eyes black, grinning too wide. When I moved, he didn't. At 3:12 a.m., Madison disappeared. 1 minute she was next to me in the kitchen. The next, the light flickered, and she was gone. Her flashlight lay on the floor, still on. I screamed for her, pounded the walls. But I was alone. Then I heard her voice. "Casey, I think I'm in the mirror. Please help me. Don't look too long. It sees you when you stare." I don't know how long I was in that house. Time broke down. The clocks all ticked backward. At some point, I woke up on the lawn, covered in frost. No sign of Eli. No sign of Madison. The sheriff's cruiser was gone. The road behind me was just forest. The house stood silent, still. I didn't go back. I called 911 from a gas station an hour away. They said no one had reported anyone missing. Said the Halderman house burned down in 1972. I drove straight home and never returned. But sometimes, I still see them. Not in dreams. In mirrors, Eli, Madison, even Claire, staring back at me, mouths moving silently, begging me to pull them out. And worst of all, sometimes I swear I'm not the one looking out anymore. They warned me not to take Route 89 after the first snowfall. Said it wasn't just the icy roads or the risk of black ice. There was something else. Something older than the highway itself. The truckers called it the Loop. Locals refused to talk about it. A stretch of road in the Appalachian backcountry that people drove down and never came back from. They said it led to a town that appears for only a few days each year. A place trapped in snow and time. I laughed it off like anyone would. Thought it was mountain lore. Until my sister went missing. Her name was Emily, 29, smart as hell, fearless. She was a wildlife biologist doing field work in eastern Pennsylvania, tracking elk through the Appalachian foothills. She wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Route 89. But on November 17th, she sent me a voicemail. It still plays in my head, even now. "Hey Jake, something's weird here. I think I found a town, but it's not on any of my maps. There are people here, I think. They're watching me. I'm leaving. I'll call you when I'm back." She never called again. I filed a missing persons report. Authorities searched the area. Nothing. Just a last GPS ping before her phone went dead. 10 miles past the edge of Route 89 near a forgotten clearing. The cops assumed she'd gotten lost or slipped into a ravine. But I know my sister. She was careful, and she never panicked. I couldn't sit around and wait, so I went looking for her myself. The snow had already started to fall when I hit Route 89. The further I drove, the quieter it got. My radio fizzled into static, then started picking up some strange broadcast, like an old AM station. It played a weather report that made no sense. Tonight's forecast for Cold Hollow. Heavy snow, low of 12 degrees. Bundle up, folks. It's December 3rd, 1959. I stared at the dash. December 3rd? The clock on my phone read November 18th. Then I saw the sign. Welcome to Cold Hollow. Population 836. It wasn't on my GPS. It wasn't on any map I checked. But the sign was real, planted in the snow by the roadside, painted clean. No rust, no wear. It looked like it had just been nailed into the ground. As I rolled into town, I felt it immediately, like the air itself had thickened. The streets were empty, too clean, the snow untouched. Old brick buildings lined the road. A diner with neon lights, a pharmacy, a movie theater playing a film from the 50s. Every storefront looked frozen in time. It wasn't a ghost town. It was like a memory someone refused to let go of. That's when I saw the people. They weren't hiding. They stood out in the open. Men in gray suits and hats. Women in dresses with big hair and bright lipstick. Children in wool coats, all of them watching. Smiling, but none of them blinked. I stopped the truck outside the diner. The neon sign buzzed above the door. Welcome, traveler. I walked inside. The bell chimed. A woman behind the counter turned to face me. Blonde hair, red lips, paper white skin. She smiled like she'd been waiting. Coffee, hun? She asked. Her voice was warm, but her eyes weren't. I asked if she'd seen my sister, showed her a picture. She didn't even glance at it, just kept smiling. We get a lot of visitors this time of year, she said. Some stay, some don't. Coffee she poured me was hot, too hot. The cup steamed even though the diner was freezing. I didn't drink it. I kept walking. Every building I passed had someone inside, just standing, staring out the windows. They didn't move, didn't speak. Some waved. I didn't wave back. Then I found Emily's car, parked neatly at the side of the street. No snow on the windshield. No ice. The engine was still warm. Inside was her field notebook, a thermos of coffee, half full. The driver's seat still held her body heat. She'd been here, hours ago, maybe less. A child's voice spoke behind me. She's part of us now. I turned around. No one. Just tiny footprints in the snow, leading away from the car and disappearing into the fog. That's when I noticed something worse. My own footprints behind me, they were gone. I followed the prints. I don't know why. Maybe I thought they'd lead me to her. They led me to a church, at the center of town. Stone walls, towering steeple, dark windows. Its doors creaked open as I approached. Inside were people. A congregation sitting perfectly still. Every pew filled, their faces pale, eyes unfocused. They weren't breathing. Man in a black suit stood at the altar. Winter is home, he said. His voice echoed like wind through trees, and the whole room responded in one voice. Winter is family. I stumbled out into the snow. I didn't sleep that night. I found shelter in an old house with a working fireplace. Or maybe the fire lit itself. I don't know anymore. Time felt wrong in Cold Hollow. It passed too slow, then too fast. I heard footsteps pacing upstairs all night. When I finally dared to look, there was no one there. Around 3 a.m., I saw her, Emily, standing just outside the window. No coat, no gloves, snow falling on her bare shoulders. She was smiling. Come inside, I whispered, pounding on the glass, tilted her head. I'm already home, she said, and then she was gone. The next morning, I found the town's library. It looked abandoned, but the doors opened like someone had just oiled them. I dug through the basement, found stacks of newspaper clippings sealed in plastic. December 3rd, 1959. Avalanche destroys Cold Hollow. Entire town buried. 836 presumed. Dead. No survivors. The article stopped after that. No more records, no obituaries, no rescue attempts. The town had been wiped off the map, erased. But somehow, it kept coming back. I tried to leave. I ran back to where I'd come in, but the road was gone. Just trees, endless trees. My truck was gone too. Or maybe the snow covered it. The air grew thicker. The fog pulled in tighter. I could hear the townspeople whispering from every corner. Stay, they said. Stay with us. Winter is home. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs froze, until my breath came out like glass shards. And just when I was sure I'd never get out, I woke up, face down in the snow, on the road. My truck was beside me, covered in frost. The fuel gauge read empty. My phone was cracked, but the time was right again. It was December 3rd, exactly 1 year after the town had died. I drove straight home, never looked back. But I can still feel it, like it's waiting for me. Every time winter rolls in and the first snow falls, I hear her voice again, Emily, whispering from just beyond the trees. You should have stayed, Jake. It's warm here. You belong here now. They warned me not to take Route 89 after the first snowfall, and they were right. Because Cold Hollow isn't a place, it's a hunger. And one day, it's going to want me back.